Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is meeting with at least 25 key senators this week about his nomination to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. So let's talk more about it tonight with my guest. Bill Wirtz is an agriculture policy analyst with the Consumer Choice Center. He is up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Bill, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's first of all talk about the nomination itself, which was met, obviously, I don't think with a lot of surprise. People had an indication that he was likely going to be nominated for this. There are some concerns from the right about his pro-abortion stance, many concerns from the left about his take on vaccines. But where will this nomination hinge upon?
Oh, it's really difficult, but ultimately he has to convince Republicans. And if you had told someone 10 years ago that the Kennedy would have difficulties convincing Democrats and Republicans to be confirmed, I think you would have trouble getting someone to believe you. But to be fair, I mean, this is not the first time he's tried to get a similar role. In 2009, he tried to become the chief of the EPA. And President Obama back then actually retracted that because he was seen as too controversial, because he said that people who don't believe in climate change are traitors. So he has always been a controversial figure, and his uphill battle on the Hill this week is essentially to convince lawmakers that he is not the conspiracy theorist that he actually is. And he has worked the past 2 decades on a lot of those issues, and it makes him really unattractive to a lot of the Republican lawmakers. This election was about grocery store prices, making food cheaper, and also getting big government out of your life. But he is very heavy on the regulatory front, so it's going to be really difficult for him. On the topic of food, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's been a lot of talk about food additives and things of that nature that I think a lot of people like the idea because they consider it to be this campaign of, quote, make America healthy again. But what does that really mean? And is this a crusade worth fighting if you're heading up HHS, which, to be fair, has been more of a czar of bureaucracy in recent years? And he would just be adding to it if he were to go after food dyes. I mean, I don't have a problem with the government trying to get people to live a healthier life, but ultimately food dyes are really not the problem here. They're actually not shown to have any adverse health effects. They go through quite a rigorous process, and if anything, a very lengthy, unnecessarily lengthy process at the FDA. But, you know, just like with a lot of the other things that he believes, like microwaves and Wi-Fi being bad for you, he's also after food dyes. And I think what we were looking at, if he were to actually get through and ban these, a lot of the foods that we like that have these fancy colors would become sort of gray, and hot dogs are part of this, Fruit Loops are part of this, and I don't really want to live in a world where, you know, we don't have color in our grocery stores. I like that, actually. Another thing on the additive front, Bill, has been fluoride in water systems. And I know, as a child of the 80s, that was a big deal when my hometown fluoridated the water supply out there. There has been a lot of people calling for that to be rescinded in many parts of the country, and something that RFK has said he would like to see ended. What's the benefit in that? Is there a benefit? And again, is this something that should be done on a piece-by-piece basis as opposed to some sort of arching regulation? Well, I mean, it's a conversation as to whether the federal government should be involved with this or whether it should be a state-by-state decision. But ultimately, fluoridization of water is a good idea. I mean, you can hear from my accent, I'm European. And in Europe, in many countries, it's not part of the system to have fluoride added to the water. And as a result of that, Europeans actually face considerably more dental caries than Americans do. And, you know, for instance, in Europe, we also have a lot of the toothpaste that don't contain fluoride. And, you know, the result of that is shown in the World Health Organization data. So I think it's a good idea to maintain that. And again, it's like, you know, it's like the chemtrails and all of these other things. It is easy policymaking to just point the finger at a chemical that a lot of people don't understand and don't, you know, just, it sounds scary. But, you know, when we make policies for millions of consumers, we actually need the facts, and the facts just don't bear out that this is in any way, shape, or form bad for you. On the contrary, dental care experts believe that this is a very good thing. So I think it should be maintained. And again, this will come up in the confirmation hearings, because one of the questions that should be asked is, what are your facts? And I just don't see a lot of that with RFK. All right, Bill Wirtz from the Consumer Choice Center. Bill, we appreciate your insight on this. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. And the Final Five is back after this.